Hello and welcome to the Simple Recap. I'm going to introduce you to the movie Sleeping Dictionary today. Watch this space for a spoiler, and decent viewing. The narrative starts in 1936. England controlled over several nations at the time, and everyone who wanted to work for the government was sent there to obtain an education. He did everything with them, and when they returned, they took the position. A young and gullible Englishman named John, who travels to a developing or underdeveloped country by transit, is the story's primary character. Many folks are not even aware it exists. A man who speaks his language approaches him and salutes. He then introduces John to his officer, who goes by the name of Henri and has been working there for a while. John recalls that Henri asked him why he came to this place when he had so many other possibilities. He is here to fulfill his father's goal that his people receive an education, which he carried out while serving here. Henri continues by saying that he doesn't believe John will succeed and that it is pointless for these people to learn. Meeting the tribal chief of the nearby tribe was Henry's pick for John. He informs him that he must comply with all of his demands. He is to blame for the worst human catastrophe. When a drink is offered, Jean declines it, but this time he accepts it because it would be impolite not to. A waitress delivers the beverage. Stunning young lady named Salma. John enjoys dancing with his buddies and drinking a lot of alcohol himself. He also really likes the female. John quotes a poem when someone asks him to do something to dare them. Boy named Suede dances with John and everyone after finding it dull. Laughs. The next morning, John feels quite ashamed of what he did the previous evening. Henri visits him and is accompanied by Selma. She will perform her job exactly like his wife, Henri informs Jean. He assures her that Selma will assist him in learning the language if he wishes to reside here. He continues by saying that he must be proficient in order to learn the language with her because that is the only way to do it. John appears perplexed by the entire. Even the female is unknown to him. Henri Jones said that there was no coercion. It is she who is carrying out this action. Her own approval. John consents. Mehdi informed Henri that he would not have sex with the woman Henri did. Lima is also upset, so don't bother. For what he said, at him. Their territory is being invaded by the Chinese. John requests the side to do this task. He brings him a monkey face, but John doesn't recognize it, and everyone laughs at him. The side knows Chinese, and the king orders them to bring their heads to him. Newcomer John. He feels like no one is paying attention to him. He intends to act seriously, which is what he has said. When he arrives home, his boss presents him with a boy and introduces him as. The employer tells John that he can have a sexual relationship with him. He stated so since John refused to have a sexual relationship with a girl and he believed John was gay. He becomes highly enraged and declares that he will not tolerate his foolishness. Selma is fired as well, and she kills. After that, John visits her and informs her that this is not how things operate. He can't yet be intimate with her because of the way their society works. Like how he leaves, says sorry to her, and tries to learn the language. Lima again concurs. The next scene features John in Henry's home, where a man he meets asks him how to use his sleep dictionary, Selma's line of work, and to use a dictionary. According to local custom, John and Selma adoringly sleep in the same room at the same time at night, but in different beds. If he hasn't yet been a girl, Selma warns him, he won't have any experience when he marries. John dismisses her idea, and informs her that he will enroll in a course. John then queries her as to why. She responds that she believes John changed the following morning. John visits the locals who are still not paying attention, teaches kids lessons, but maintains balance. He does not understand the appeal, Sadie. To teach kids that John tells him he understands that balance can continue. Having spent so much time underwater, how is the champion and balance reacting to that? John does indeed ask him to a party. John prevails because the Dylanza competition concludes before it does. The contest John is in. He has an oxygen tank for himself and his group. No idea what an oxygen container is after John defeats Sai on the balance sheet. Everyone begins to pay attention to him as. In the evening, she reads him a poem that John's father used to read to him when he was a child while teaching him a children's book. When Salma teaches him the words, she also talked to him about the kicks and other parts of the body. He starts to touch himself and subsequently engage in intimate intercourse. Eventually, one night, it becomes a habit. Salma informs him that her father also read the same poetry to her when she was a youngster. They are piled on top of one another. Then Lima gets up and leaves for bed. John begs him to stay, but she replies that they must meet the following morning if he awakens in the same place. Henry, who is being married the following evening, invites John over for supper with his daughter Cecilia, who has just returned from England after finishing her studies. There are so many odd customs in this country, Cecilia said after researching this area in England. She wonders if there would be feelings between them if a new officer showed up and was accompanied by a girl. She is unaware that this tradition is still followed. Henri, however, warns her that it would not be right to form sentiments in this manner because John merely adheres to the custom, but emphasize that it is feasible, that he feels the same way about them as he does about himself. Salima, it is inappropriate. When Henri John returns, he gives Selima a passionate kiss. John and Cecilia are at their jobs the following day. John takes him with her to all the locations where she conducts her research. She records these individuals. She takes pictures of these individuals. When Salima urges John to stop him since she doesn't like it, he is unable to do so. Then, we notice others approaching the river. People perished on a boat, most likely from a serious illness. John departs with a group to investigate Selima and strike a balance. Before they go, let's say she is joined by another person. I was astonished to learn this from someone when Ogué visits John and informs him that his daughter is highly intelligent and that John will be fortunate to see her. Ogué then suggests that he go marry John. Encourages him to say yes, risking his loss of the evening. John, when he asks Lima if she slept with anyone, Salima replies positively, and there is another officer just like him. He neglected to defend himself while Cecilia was snapping pictures, and Selima is furious with him for it. She tells him that he is just like the rest. The following day, John and others travel upstream from the river to explore the disease in the Yakata tribe because many people have the ailment. This is when John understands that she is very upset with him. After someone attacks John, John is saved by someone who comes in time. Then, you can follow this man and learn. Many individuals mine gold for cash. John understands that they are to blame for the illness. When he gets back, he discovers that Selima has also contracted the illness. John recalls that the miners offered rice to Selima and that she ate it. He reasoned that if he killed them all and no one noticed, they would not have handled him with the aim of killing them all. He accurately predicts that the miners were poisoned by the rice in order to get rid of the Yakata, knowing that they would avenge themselves. John details what transpired to the Yakata. Ayakata, on the other hand, gets rid of kids. Han John is conscious of his growing affections for Salima, and she is aware of them. She responds to his proposal and accepts. That no one will consent to it. Henri, who becomes enraged, informs John about it. He adds that it's not permitted. Disrespect for their government would result from this. Everything she says to John is heard by Ogué. Must put Selima behind you and go on. If John rejects Ogué's offer, Cecilia, Henry's daughter, will have him tried for the deaths of European miners, Ogué threatens. John must give up Salima and travel to Britain for a year as part of the offer. The group is also extorting money from the president of this Lima, warning her that the lives of the people are in jeopardy if she does not permit John to leave. She refuses to listen to Sai, the father of the balance's pleas, so he locks her up, and John. She informs him that she informed him it was not possible when he visits her. John receives Henry's final warning, and Salima warns him that if he ignores it, they will both be put in jail. John should not be in jail, according to Solomon, who insists they won't ever cross paths again. The following scene reveals. It has been a year. On the night of John and Cecilia's wedding, Cecilia inquires as to if he has already. Beauty sleeping. John tells him the truth, but Cecilia doesn't seem to care. John returns. They are watching a movie, to the tribe once more. John continues to hunt for Selima in this area. He is noticed by Cecilia, who tells John that she knows everything about him. Selima then reveals to John that Salima is married and that she also has a child. She also wants to be John. The following day, happy with her, he returns. He visits his former home and finds another cop living there named Neuville. Upon learning that Neuville had physically mistreated the child, he warns Neuville not to touch her again. John will stop it. Her body's private areas of his. One day, John is at the river when he spots Lima and his son. The youngster is white, thus he must be John's child. When he begs his supervisor to meet with Salima, the latter responds that he has already tried to do so and that Salima is not at all interested in meeting. But once he does, he also runs into his son and sings her his kid's song. His dad would sing him the following day, John crafts a toy for the boy, and Ogué recognizes it when she sees it. Everything is the argument she raises. Admonishes her that she won't. John, her daughter, was the victim of this. Refuses to budge and begins spending time with Salima and her son frequently. All of this, in the eyes of Sai, who is now Salima's husband, is an attempt to murder John. The evening Henri makes the decision to put Sa to death for attempted murder. John is told by Henri about his past. He created his own sleep dictionary, which resulted in the birth of Salima, a second child. Henry's daughter was indeed arrested for attempting to kill an officer, as the balance indicates, and he was given the death penalty by hanging. The fact that the equilibrium is so off bothers Selima. Is murdered because Mundar does not want to upset the balance, and he was a decent father. Sai, a former companion of John the Evangelist. Later that night, this tries to flee the balance sheet without realizing John is already there but announces the hanging because he had no other option. As she approaches the cell, she observes John making out something on the balance sheet, like it's a weapon. Fails in the meantime, John learns that Cecilia is pregnant and invites Salima to join him on the pier so they may flee via boat. He starts to compose a letter because he is puzzled, but Cecilia arrives and urges him to go. In response to Lima's assertion that she doesn't want to push him into this relationship, Salima has been made to serve as Neville's sleeping dictionary in the interim. She eliminates the leader with his assistance. She will then be on her aunt's dock. Later, John arrives late and is unable to locate Salima. Henri discovered Salima was aware that she killed Neville in the interim. He helps him escape rather than putting him in jail. On the other side, Ague is furious. Henri admits that he knows that Salima fled after being abandoned by him. He will take care of everything and do what is best for his daughters. Cagui and Neville are still alive, and the person who created Selima's activated sleep dictionary is no longer as furious as she was when she gave it to John and Salima. Neville would kill both of them, and John. In every place he goes, he searches for Salima, finds her and the 200 brew at last. When Neuville, who is carrying a revolver, shows up, he ties John and begins tormenting Salima before the tribe's members appear. These are the individuals John rescued. Tribal members go to a city to save it from death and those who owe him their lives. From the devil, John and Salima claim that Lima is. She laments the fact that she will never be able to return and that she will be put to death if she does. She continues by warning John that he will be unable to leave Alicia if he chooses to stay. He will have to live in this, she claims, jungle forever, in reply from John. He has all he needs, yet he is with his family, and the three of them are content together. Please subscribe so that you can watch more movie recaps like this, and thank you for watching.